4th, 2016, Will County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Mike Carruthers will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joliet Township.
Here.
Langer Homer Township. Kim Mitchell, Shanahan Township. Here. Barbara Peterson, Washington Township is here. Hugh Stippen, Frankfurt Township.
Here.
Thomas White, Troy Township.
Here.
Chairman Lundvall, Manhattan Township.
Here. In your package, you had the meeting minutes from September 6, 2016. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Madam Secretary, do you have any announcements?
Mr. Chairman, we have a number of cases this evening. We have one variance case and a temporary use permit that will be heard to a conclusion by this commission. The remaining cases will advance to the land use committee, which is 4/7/12.
October 11th.
October 11th, 10 a.m. This county boardroom. And at that time, all of you, any of you, may attend that meeting also.
Okay, thank you. This time, all those planning on speaking tonight, we're going to swear you in mass. We're going to ask you to raise your right hand. I'm going to swear you in, and after I swear you in, I want you to say I do. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God?
I do.
Thank you. At this time, we ask if you would turn off your cell phones. The commission has 7 members. Tonight, we only have 6. You do need 4 yes votes for approval on your case. If anyone would like to wait for a full commission to be here, we could continue your case if you like. When it's called, come up to the dais. At this time, we're going to open up the first case, zoning case ZC-16-007. We have a request from a map amendment from A1 to I1. The owner of record is a Municipal Trust and Savings Bank. Contract purchaser, Tom Pleckham. Kimberly from our staff will open up the case. And please, the microphone, we're having trouble with the microphones tonight, so anybody that comes up to the mic, we'd ask if you could talk a little bit louder than normal because the system is, we're having trouble with it.
Good evening, Chairman Malone and Commissioner. Zoning case ZC-16-007 takes place in Green Garden Township. The applicant requests a map amendment from A1 to I1 for the purpose of allowing a sewer and water contractor business to operate. The applicant proposes an office, a shop, and outdoor storage of heavy equipment. This use is classified under contractor sales and service. Displayed in red is the subject property. The general location of the subject property is west of Route 45 and north of Drawley Road. The property is vacant agricultural property that was previously in use for the growing of crops on approximately 8 of the 10.71 acres of the site, with about 2 acres that is partially wooded at the crest of a hill that is not in use for farming. The remains of agricultural buildings are located on the subject property. There is an existing drive that's in very poor condition, located at the crest of a nearly blind hill. It is not at exact crest. It's slightly, I would say about 250 to about 300 feet north of the crest, causing some visibility concerns. Staff has concerns about ingress and egress. It is recommended that the applicant contact IDOT regarding an entrance permit, as the existing entrance was never intended to accommodate industrial use. IDOT approval is required at the time of building permit. The subject property is zoned A1 and is surrounded by A1 zoning. It is important to note that there is not a trend for industrial zoning in this area. This type of zoning is referred to as spot zoning. Upon amendment to the industrial zoning district, intense uses such as freight movement, warehousing, manufacturing, industrial services, car wash, and motor vehicle repair could be permitted uses. This case went before the Green Garden Town Plan Commission and was approved by the township. However, the township has not yet provided written correspondence verifying the approval. Staff does not support the recommendation of the township as there is no trend for industrial zoning at this time. It is the responsibility of the county to mitigate the potential impacts to the established uses within the general area. A plat of survey is displayed of the subject property. It is likely that the entrance permit will be required from IDOT at the time of building permit. It is recommended to locate the proposed drive as far north as possible. In this vicinity, here's where they're proposing the drive, here. And staff would like to see, try to work with something a little further north. But again, it's really the decision of IDOT. Displayed is a photo of the property facing south. So if you were standing north of the property along Route 45 facing south, this stand of trees would be at the crest of the hill. Staff recommends denial of the map amendment from A1 to I1. This concludes staff analysis.
Kimberly, I have a question.
Yes.
On the survey, it says Lot 1 and Lot 2. And the request is for map amendment from A1 to I1. Is that on both of these lots, or has that been corrected? Or is it on one of the lots?
The subject property is Lot 1, just the area that's identified by the red.
Okay, so Lot 2 at this time is going to stay A1?
Lot 1 is not part of the zoning case. So essentially, yes.
Well, on the site plan, Lot 1 has all the buildings and parking lots, so I'm not sure.
Lot 2, pardon.
Pardon?
You were asking about Lot 2?
Yes,
Remaining ad?
Lot 2, is that going to stay A1?
It's, at this time, it's going to stay A1. It's not part of this particular zoning case. So right now, we're just looking at the zoning case that's, I believe,
okay.
Penn, Ensign.
So there are two lots, and I do see that there's a drive, it looks like going from Lot 1 to Lot 2 within the property. I just was curious about that.
That's
No,
proposed.
Pardon?
That's proposed, so it could be that the applicant is proposing a future use on the additional lot, or perhaps it's a plan for expansion.
Okay. Does that parking lot meet the setback requirements on Route 45?
Parking is not required to meet building setbacks.
Does it meet the parking setback?
There is not a parking setback in the ordinance.
Oh, there isn't? Okay.
No.
I'm just, because I had a recurring thought about all those car lots on Archer Avenue that came in, and and there was probably at least a half a dozen came in a couple of years ago, and that was an issue. So you're saying that's not a
We
issue now?
require the parking and the outdoor storage areas. We require that they're located within the property boundary.
Okay. Any other questions of staff at this time? Is the applicant here tonight? Would you like to come down?
Yes.
Mike's are dead, so you're gonna have to talk loud.
I may have difficulty doing that, but I'll try as best I can. My name is Lyman Team, and I'm the attorney for the applicant. The applicant is Tom Pleckham, who is one of the principals in Sunset Sewer and Water, which is a company that is involved in the sewer and water excavation and extension business. They provide municipal sewer and water lines and do sewer and water excavation work. Tom is currently a resident of Green Garden Township. He currently has a business for Sunset Sewer and Water in Green Garden in an industrial building at Manhattan Money Road that he's leasing from the current owner. I just wanted to indicate a couple things before we get too far into it. I didn't quite hear the question about Lot 1 and Lot 2, but this zoning covers the entire piece all the way to the north. Okay. It's a 10.1 acre rezoning request.
Map amendment for the
map amendment from A1 to I1 for the entire piece.
Okay.
The reason it was shown as Lot 1 and Lot 2 is because if the zoning is approved, we will undoubtedly come back to the county at a future date to break that into two parcels, utilize the southern piece for our purposes, then place the southern piece or the northern piece up for sale. But the zoning case you have before you this evening is for the entire 10.1
Reason why I
acre
asked
piece.
is because it's got that red line around it, and it shows it as Lot 1 and Lot 2.
Yeah, no,
I just
it's,
need to get that clarified.
yeah, it covers the entire piece all the way shown to the northern boundary line on that map.
Are those actually two different tax numbers on those?
No, it's one tax number
It's one
covering the
tax
11
number?
acres.
So that's just a representation of like a site plan or something?
That represents a site plan for the portion of the property that we intend to use currently. But the entire piece is being rezoned as part of this request. Couple of different things. Number one, we did appear at the Township Planning and Zoning Commission. We were approved unanimously by the Planning and Zoning Commission for our request to rezone from A1 to I1. We subsequently went to the Township Board, and we were approved unanimously by all the members of the Township Board who were present at that meeting. Mr. Mueller is here, the Township Supervisor. There was some issue raised, I think, with the staff report that perhaps the county didn't receive an official communication from the Town Board, but Mr. Mueller is here to tell you this evening that the Town Board did in fact approve this, and the Town Board encourages the county to approve our zoning request.
Mr. Mueller with the town board? I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm the supervisor.
Okay.
Township Supervisor for Green Garden Township. Also, the Highway Commissioner was present at the Town Board meeting. Highway Commissioner is in favor, the Township Assessor is in favor, and the people that attended the Planning and Zoning Commission, the audience, and the Town Board meeting all were in favor. At the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that we had at the Township, we had a neighbor two parcels down to the south that showed up and expressed desire for the Township to approve our rezoning request. And also subsequent to the meeting that we had at the Township, at the board meeting, we received a letter from the parcel of property immediately to the north of us. It's a relatively large parcel of farm ground immediately to the north of us, and that is owned by 31 Investments LLC out of Frankfort, Illinois. And that owner expressed a desire to encourage the county to approve the rezoning request. A couple of things I want to note. The Will County Land Resource Management Plan was adopted back in 2002. At the time leading up to the adoption of that plan, the county encouraged participation from the various townships and planning commissions and neighbors, anybody that wanted to come to the meetings and express their interest and assistance in developing that land resource management plan. Green Garden Township was very active. They were actively involved with the county in putting together the land resource management plan back in 2002. As part of the land resource management plan, this property is designated as rural. Green Garden Township, for the most part, is, I think probably entirely is designated as rural under the land use management plan. The township adopted their own comprehensive plan a couple years after the county adopted the land resource management plan, incorporating the principles of the land resource management plan and setting up a corridor for commercial and light industrial all the way along Route 45 from the border of Frankfort Township all the way south to the south border of Green Garden Township. And what that township plan shows is that there's a corridor along Route 45 being a major arterial through the township that they would like to see not heavy industrial, but light industrial and commercial activity take place along that corridor. The Village of Frankfort in 2010 adopted their 20-year plan, and as part of their 20-year plan, they incorporated the comprehensive plan from Green Garden Township, because the Village of Frankfort someday would like to come from its current boundary up by Steger Road all the way down to Manhattan-Money Road, and they likewise show a corridor of commercial industrial business use along 45 being a major arterial. The county speaks of spot zoning. I'm not sure what that means. I think I do, and I think all of us have an impression of what spot zoning means. And we're the first ones to admit that all of the property around us is zoned agricultural. But nowhere in the zoning ordinance could I find a definition of spot zoning, and nowhere in the zoning ordinance could I find a prohibition for spot zoning. So I really have a couple of questions to ask. When I first became involved in handling zoning matters in Green Garden Township back in the late 70s, there was agro-business at the corner of Manhattan-Money Road and 45, and that was essentially the only industrial zone property, industrial activity within Green Garden Township. Over the years, that intersection of Manhattan-Money Road and 45 has expanded a little bit industrial use, because Willie Brothers moved in to the west, to the west of Agro, and then there was another development that moved into the west of Willie Brothers. Slager Concrete moved to the south of Agro. Property to the north, on the northwest quadrant of 45 and Manhattan-Money Road was subsequently granted zoning for industrial. A small parcel of property on the northeast corner of Manhattan-Money Road was granted zoning for industrial. And there happens to be 3 miles to the south a piece of property zoned industrial in the middle of nowhere on Route 45 in Green Garden Township. I don't know if that meets the definition of spot zoning, but the county approved it some time back, and that was granted and currently exists on your zoning map and is being operated in Green Garden Township. When you have a rural community, anything you bring into that community essentially is spot zoning. And the township is eager to develop commercial and industrial along 45 because they have concerns. One of the big concerns they have is that by continuing only the element of agricultural property in Green Garden Township, the tax base doesn't support the repairs and the infrastructure that they need for the township. They can't keep the roads up, they can't do a lot of things. And that's why the highway commissioner was so strongly in favor of our request when we appeared at the township board. Again, talking about spot zoning, I'm not sure what that means, but on Manhattan-Money Road on the southeast quadrant, there's a gas station there. That's commercial. That was approved several years ago. There was no other commercial zoning anywhere up and down Route 45 at that time that was approved. Was that spot zoning? I don't know. 1.25 miles south of that, the township and the county approved commercial for a veterinary clinic, and they approved commercial for a tax shop. That's 1.33 miles away. I don't know if that's spot zoning. The township and the county approved 3 miles to the north, commercial zoning for CD and Me. That's a bar, tavern, lounge, entertainment venue, banquet facility. That was approved. Is that spot zoning? I don't know. Same thing going east on Manhattan-Money Road at the corner of the golf course, they approved a C2. 3 miles further at Harlem Avenue, they approved another commercial development. Now, are those spot zoning? I don't know. The county approved them, the township approved them. The zoning is in place and on the county zoning map. We think that it makes sense to have this development here. If you look at the facility that we're proposing in the site plan, there's talk about a hill, and there is quite a hill on the property right off of 45. There's a big grade change going up. That's going to be cleared out. It's going to be brought down to within a foot or two of the crest of the hill on 45, so that entering and leaving the facility on Route 45 doesn't create any kind of a safety hazard. And obviously, anything we do there has to be approved by IDOT. So IDOT's going to be looking at our plans as we go further into this. The commercial or the industrial operation that's proposed is basically a sewer and water contracting business. Employees come in the morning, they hop in trucks, they leave the facility, they go out and do their work, they come back, they go home. The equipment, trucks, those things will be stored either within the building or behind the building and will not be visible from Route 45. The reason I say that is that there's another development 2 parcels south, which is farm landscaping, which is agricultural, with a special use permit for a landscaping business. There's so many semis and tractor trailers on that property that you would think that that was industrial, but it isn't. Our property is going to look more in tune with the community and the nature of Green Garden Township than other properties that currently exist. So with that, I ask for your approval. If you have any questions, I know Gary Mueller is here. Gary wants to say a couple words, hopefully in support of our project. And my client is here if you have any questions about the operation. And also, Brian Hertz is here from MG2A Engineering if you have any questions concerning the engineering aspect for the property. But with that, I'll ask Gary to step forward. Thank you.
Hi there. Good evening. Gary Mueller with, I'm the supervisor for Green Garden Township. I wanted to come first of all to clarify the misunderstanding. Apparently somehow there was no written communication sent over about the vote. I do have an email from July 6th where the results from the Planning Commission vote were sent over to Kim. And but I don't know why the results from the board were not, but it was approved unanimously. The board was in favor of it. Also wanted to say, as far as to Lyman's point about the spot zoning, that entire corridor along Route 45, we have, ever since we adopted our comprehensive plan, and we're also revising our comprehensive plan now, and plan to leave that as well as our commercial corridor. So it's going to be zoned light industrial and commercial up and down Route 45, as well as Manhattan-Monique. Those are our 2 intersecting corridors, our 2 main hubs. So I want to make sure I clarified that portion. And
did you bring any documentation about the board approving?
I did not. I did not. I apologize. So I can certainly follow that up for you. So
That was going to be my statement. Whatever paperwork that you have, you've got, I want it made part of this complete file to go to the land use committee and to remain as part of your permanent file. I have no doubts about this. I've been on this commission long enough. I drive that area all the time. This makes sense, what Green Garden intends and would like to do. And I'm all in favor of young people who want to go into business. I know they're in business, but they want to stay in business today. You've got my vote already, I'll tell you that. So that's my only comment, though. Get that paperwork in so it is made part of this file.
I will do that. The email I have is from our clerk, and I'll follow up with her and find out why.
Just get everything typed up.
Yep, we'll get that over to you.
Mr. Newland, if I may,
Of course.
in a supporting statement to you, I know that Green Garden Township doesn't have that much permanent staff. So
Zero.
We depend on your clerk to get this out as
Correct.
opposed to having a secretarial staff to do it for you.
Correct.
So I understand your predicaments.
I appreciate that, thank you. But I will follow up with her as well. She's not really permanent staff either. She works full-time as well, so.
Yeah.
But I will make sure that she gets that over to you.
The comment that I have to make is this, is that, you know what? Green Garden Township, I don't care what case came up before us in the last 10 or 15 years, whether it was splitting 10 to 5 acres or 5 to 2.5 acres, it seems as though there must have been a changeover in the township because there's always been opposition to any type of change from 10 to 5 and 5 to 2.5, and 1 acre don't even come in here. But they were pretty adamant. I can remember, unless these people have passed away or moved on, but they were pretty adamant about being real restrictive in voicing their concerns when they came before the county. I do recall that.
And I would completely agree with your statement that the residents of Green Garden do want to remain rural, but they also recognize the fact that we do need to grow, controlled growth, and that's why they've set aside that industrial corridor up and down Manhattan-Moni and up and down 45.
45 is natural.
I know.
And it's,
Yeah, the comprehensive plan that was adopted by Green Garden was the input from, I don't know, Gary, you had a bunch of neighbors working on that, I know, for an extended period of
We
time.
had a whole committee worked on it.
They all
for
came
about 2
together
years.
and they looked at trail systems, they looked at all kinds of different things. But one of the things that they all agreed upon was that if there's going to be a commercial and industrial corridor, it should be along Route 45 between Frankfort Township and the southern township boundary line.
And again, we're currently looking at revising that plan. We've got another committee working on that as well, but one thing that is remaining intact for sure is that corridor up and down 45 and up and down Manhattan.
Okay, are there any other questions to the applicant?
Yes, I was reading this article, Mr. Chairman. It stated, a spot zone cannot be created if the plan commission carefully considers the facts of the property, the proposed land use, and relies on an up-to-date adopted comprehensive plan as a guide for the application of zoning regulations for the specific property. It also states spot zoning is collegial, term developed as to describe the application of a specific zoning district classification.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to comment on that, or no?
No.
Okay. Yes, Kim?
Chairman Malone, I just want to,
You're going to have to speak up a little because we can't
Sure.
hardly hear you.
I want to announce to you that the map amendment before you today is for the full perimeter of the property. And I do want to let you know that the legal description that was used to describe this zoning case is correct. It's consistent with that request, and that was published correctly, and written notice went out correctly as well.
Great.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay.
I was going to ask, following up to that paperwork, you have someone I should email that specifically to?
absolutely.
Kim?
Kim? Okay.
The land,
Yep,
one of you.
I will get a card.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Does anybody else have anything else to
do
say
it
here?
tomorrow morning.
No, we're fine unless you have further questions.
Okay, no, thank you. Are there any objectors to this case? Okay, thank you. I do have one question to staff. Comprehensive plans, maybe Steve or, I know villages and cities have comprehensive plans, okay? Typically townships, is there much weight on the comprehensive plan when a township comes in? Do we ask to look at their comprehensive plan, or does it legally hold any weight?
Mr. Blow, members of the commission,
A couple of points were raised that I think are very valid. As far as the township plan, it probably holds as much weight as the township is willing to put into it. Much like you said, Green Garden Township is a very active township. We do consider their plan not parallel to ours, but we do consider looking at it. One of the things that you guys have talked about was the issue of spot zoning, and I really don't want to go into it, it's Kimberly's case, but Kimberly follows LaSalle standards when she makes a recommendation. Mr. Tiemann is a much better attorney than I am a planner. He could probably speak ad nauseum about the LaSalle standards, but essentially it's 7 standards. 5 came out of LaSalle Bank versus the City of Chicago. The other were Sinclair Pipeline versus, I don't recall who. But it talks about a trend of development in the area. And I think that's what Kimberly's concern is that a trend is not established. You have these individual pockets of spot zoning. I think that's what concerns her. As Mr. Mueller said, they talk about controlled growth. Controlled growth to us as planners is compact and contiguous development, and that's sporadic spot zoning. But back to your original question, I don't know how much legality a township plan has, but we do weigh that, and Kimberly has weighed that in her staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, you can sit down.
Thank you.
On case, zoning case ZC-16-007, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case ZC-16-007, I'll make a motion for approval of a map amendment from A1 to I1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to mention the fact that we are always running up against the fact that people have built homes and now there's no room for commercial or industrial there because it interferes with their lifestyle of their homes. This is, whether they call it spot zoning or not, this is an open area with no homes around it. It's a perfect place for a construction site to be put in my mind, because there's nobody there that's going to be bothered. And when they do decide to build there, they already know what's there. You know, so you have a choice of buying. It's not like they're coming in and pushing people around to get in. You know, this is an open piece of land with no neighbors other than agricultural neighbors.
That's a valid point, too.
Any other comments? Okay, the only thing I have to say is this, is one of the words that I was probably looking for is the trend. Okay, this is really in between a lot of, it's in the middle of a lot of farmland. There's a little bit of commercial zoning. There's some industrial on Manhattan Road on all at least 3 corners, or maybe 4 corners from what I recall. And which is probably, I don't know, maybe a mile or a mile and a half away, but I have concerns myself about setting a trend and setting a piece out there by itself, especially I-1, which would tend to me, what I would tend to believe is would the further property along Route 45, which is really could be a good commercial base, and we start putting industrial in there, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. So at this time, I'd like to call a roll call vote.
Carruthers.
Yes.
Flucker's not here. Mitchell. No. Peterson votes yes. Stippen.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Chairman Lenvalone.
No. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next case on the agenda, zoning case 16-011. The applicant is the Franklin Square Park District, James Randall, Executive Director. We have a request for a map amendment from the R4 and R5 zoning districts to the SP-PO zoning districts. Kimberly from our staff will open up this case.
Mr. Malone, members of the Plan Commission, I'm going to actually
Oh,
handle this
sorry.
one,
Steve.
but I'm going to ask Kimberly if she'll click my slides for me real quick.
Sure.
Okay.
Let me begin by saying our applicant is the Frankfurt Square Park District. They are, of course, a not-for-profit park district like anyone that you'd find. Executive Director is Mr. James Randall, and representation tonight is from Julie Avila. I hope I'm saying that right, Julie. Our applicant's intention is to bring the existing Frankfurt Square Park District Administration, Nature, and Recreation Center into conformance with our newly adopted zoning ordinance, which is SP-PO. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And that district would allow the uses that are there to continue, also other uses such as beekeeping, community gardens, expansion of trails, more natural plantings, and those type of things. The SP-PO Parks and Open Space District is a special purpose zoning district that is intended to help preserve and protect land set aside for parks and open space uses. The subject property is the current location of the Frankfurt Square Community Park District Center and Island Prairie Park. And again, this is almost like a nature center, something that you would find in a forest preserve. However, it's very, very progressive and happily, interestingly, to find in a community park district. This site already serves as a nature and cultural area along with the district's administrative functions. The site is approximately 55 acres in size and is accessed from Braemar Lane. Kimberly, can you go to, that is our first slide, and that is showing the subject property and the residential uses around it. And I want you to keep in mind that initially this parcel had residential zoning too. It was comprised of a bunch of parcels that were donated or deeded over during the subdivision process. This facility has become a haven for nature lovers. Nature activities have even included the sighting of bald eagles on the property. In an effort to expand the nature activities, the district will develop a beekeeping program in the next year. Originally, the land use department staff had suggested a special use permit for beekeeping. However, facilities of this type often expand, they add, modify programs to meet their overall mission statement. So in this case, we have a newly established zoning district that was really designed for these type of uses. And this is our first opportunity to take this out of its residential zoning, which, as you know, is more directed toward residential development, and open it up to our SP-PO Parks and Open Space District. Kimberly, if you could flip to some of our pictures. There's our site plan, and again, they're showing the residential around it, and the access point, which is off Braemar Lane. You come to the administrative building first. You see a greenhouse that would be on to the north of that, and then you have a wonderful nature preserve. Our staff, we spent about an hour and a half out there. Kimberly, next slide, please. It is suburban residential on our comprehensive plan, and this would gladly comply with that. Next slide. And these are 3 pictures of the site. We have our administrative building, and again, that's where all the administrative functions for this park district takes place. We have some incredible walking trails with natural plantings. And then again, we have our site where the beekeeping activities will take place. Again, staff found this site to be very, very progressive. We're proud to have a facility like this in Will County, and of course our recommendation is a recommendation of support for the SP-PO district. That concludes our staff recommendation. Julie is here from the park district, and she could explain a little bit more about some of the nature activities. I think she would love the opportunity to share this fine establishment with you guys. So thank you.
Would the applicant please come down?
Good evening. My name is Julie Arvia, and I'm here to represent the Frankfurt Square Park District tonight with this zoning amendment. You've seen some pictures. Apparently, the staff has been out for an hour and a half or so in our Island Prairie Nature Center. This site has been very progressive. I live in the community, and I see the people that utilize it on a daily basis. This is just one more educational opportunity and a way to bring nature to our residents. We are hoping to continue our environmental process in helping pollinators. And this is one way to educate our community about pollinators by bringing in an experienced beekeeper for 1 or 2 hives in a fenced-in area that will be visible both from our boardwalk area as well as our nature paths, but again fenced and secure both for the bees and for our residents. But we're hoping that this is really going to be an educational opportunity to bring more programming with the actual idea that this whole nature center and preserve has brought forward. Do you have any questions that I might be able to answer for you tonight?
I happen to know very much about your park district because I was involved in the starting of the park district there, okay? So I would like to mention to the whole room, and I'm sure that you can expand upon it, but that they have received not only state awards but national awards for the park district.
Well, the reason Mr. Randall couldn't be here tonight is because he's in St. Louis, hopefully, and anticipating receiving our 2nd gold medal award from the National Parks and Recreations Association. We've actually been nominated 7 times, and we've received it once in the past. So that's why he wasn't able to be here tonight, but we have received numerous awards through the National NRPA, as well as our Nature Center was also the recipient of the 2010 Chicago Wilderness EPA Natural Landscaping Award. So this site in particular has been recognized for our environmental efforts.
And you didn't mention, and Steve did mention that you have some environmental things that are different. You didn't mention the fact that you have a windmill and generator.
We do. The Nature Center itself is although not a LEED building, has some really nice amendments that you just mentioned. We've got a windmill and solar power, which was a grant, which actually helps with about 110% of the energy use for that particular building, and the excess is sent over to our main community facility.
Thank you. Could you, on this location, 7540 West Bramer Lane, which is probably 3 blocks west of Harlem, which way from the old the North High School is this? Is this south of it, north of it?
It's
or
actually
is
a little bit north.
How far is it?
It's north, probably within 1.5 miles.
Okay, 1.5 miles north of there? Is it, so it's closer to 191st Street?
No, it's closer to Harlem.
What I'm saying, if it's north, it's closer to the 191st Street area, that way? 'Cause that's
No,
north.
it's probably closer to Lakeway North.
Pardon?
It's probably closer to Lakeway North School.
Okay, I just wanted to get an idea where it was at, because I'm
Yep.
familiar with the
Okay.
area, but I don't know where this is at.
Okay. It's right tucked into a neighborhood. You wouldn't, you have to look for it.
Yeah, you need to visit, and I don't mean to keep going on, but I grew up by Sandridge Nature Center, I've been to Little Red Schoolhouse, both Cook County facilities. This is mind-blowing. We're proud of this in Will County. We're very proud of it. The staff there is incredible. It was a really wonderful experience. It was 90 degrees out there, and we would have definitely pushed it to 2.5 hours if we could.
All the lakes there are stocked.
Are they stocked?
You know
Yes.
what, they have been stocked in the past by the IDNR right there at, and that program is, waning a little bit, but
It's catch and release on
exactly.
the best.
Well, the only thing I can say about that is Frankfurt Square and the Park District has sort of been like the glue that holds that unincorporated area together. It's been around a long time. They've done some good things in that area, and we'll have to commend you on this request and this project that you're in. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. Are there any objectors to this request? Okay. Case ZC-16-0001, I'd like to entertain a motion for the requested map amendment.
Mr. Chairman, on the requested map amendment, we move for approval of a map amendment from R4 to R5 zoning district to the SP-PO zoning district.
Okay, a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next case on the agenda, zoning case ZC-16-012, owner of record Marvin Gourmet, contract purchaser Lloyd Bisping. We have a request for a special use permit for outdoor storage yard. Kimberly from our staff will open up the case.
Thank you. Zoning case CC-16-012 takes place in New Lenox Township. The applicant requests a special use permit for an outdoor storage yard for the purpose of allowing an excavating and construction contractor business. The general location of the subject property is east of Cherry Hill Road, between East Laraway Road and State Route 52. The property is a 6.4 acre vacant parcel that is configured similarly to a flag lot. The parcel is zoned I-2, and the parcel does have adequate frontage. The applicant proposes a gravel drive and a gravel parking yard that is approximately 3 acres in area for outdoor storage of heavy equipment. The applicant is currently working on a site development permit, SD-16-CI-012, concurrently with this zoning case. With I-2 general industrial zoning, an excavation company could be permitted on the subject property with an enclosed building. In this case, a special use permit is required because no enclosed building exists on the subject property. The classification is outdoor storage yard. The subject property is zoned I-2 and is surrounded by I-2, A1, with I-1, C3, and C4 in close proximity. The village of New Lenox is to the west. The general area has a mix of industrial, commercial, and agricultural districts. There is evidence of industrial development trending in this area, as currently demonstrated by a Will County Highway Department, a self-storage facility, a trucking company, and a body shop. This special use permit, if done adequate measures to protect adjacent properties, specifically the residential uses, would not be out of character. The two residences abutting to the north, within very close proximity, demonstrate the need for mitigating conditions to ensure compatibility. Staff will condition this special use permit to provide a landscape berm with a solid fence to minimize dust, fumes, and noise. A site plan is displayed. The gravel areas are outlined in red. The residences are located, there are two residences, two homes, located right here and right here. I do have a photo of the residences over here, number 4. There's a photo of the abutting residences. That would be to the north of the property. Staff recommends approval of a special use permit for an outdoor storage yard with the following 7 conditions. That concludes staff analysis.
Kimberly, on this property, defined in page 2 as a flag lot, it says property has appropriate frontage.
It is similar to a flag lot.
If there's a building put on there, will there be any kind of?
It meets the I-2 standards. It is in compliance with the ordinance. It has adequate frontage, adequate area.
What is the frontage?
The frontage, I believe, is 74 feet, and let me check it for you.
That's okay. You said it meets it, that's fine. Any
Yes,
other
it meets
questions,
frontage.
staff? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The applicant is here tonight.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman. My name is Larry Wendland. For the record, I'm the attorney for the property owner. Okay. Yeah, I understand the microphone's not working very well.
If you project out at the audience and everybody can hear you a little better.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've got a short problem, but.
You can step up to the table. How's that sound?
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. Represent the property owner, Mr. Marvin Bormat, and the contract purchaser, Mr. Lloyd Bisping, of Bisping Construction. Currently, the property, as the staff mentioned, is zoned I-2. The ironic part of the ordinance is that if there were a building today, The outside storage would be an accessory use, and there would be no need for a special use permit. Since there's no building, and we're just asking for outside storage at this time, the building to come later, we need to apply for a special use permit.
Okay.
And I've got the colored edition of the map that you might see up on top, outlined in red portion along with the adjoining property owners. That might, it's just a little easier than the one that's up on the board. There might be two there. Thank you. And of course, the closest neighboring property across the street from this property is the County of Will. Not only its County Highway Department, the gigantic salt silo, but the Forest Reserve District has the Hudson property from there to the south. So all the way across Cherry Hill Road is the county to the northwest. And then from this property, outlined in red, to the south is all I-2. The storage yard next to it, and then the trucking yard and the body shop, the truck body shop. The residences to the north of there, the property owner and Mr. Bisping, this is a truck, a storage yard. The special use permit application is for a storage yard for construction equipment, not to carry on any construction on it, but to prepare it and to gravel it and store construction equipment. Mr. Bisping currently is a resident and a businessman in the County of Will, in New Lenox on Ford Drive, where he has his shop and his office, and some of this, some of the equipment is stored there.
Mr. Wyman, could you hold it up so the audience can see that?
Yes. Oh,
We
sure.
appreciate you doing that. The part that's in the, with the red lines is the property we're talking about.
Correct. The hash red lines through here. This is the entrance over here. Here's the county property here. Here's the storage, I-2, and I-2 all the way to the south. This property is here, vacant, I-2, 6.4 acres. The residences, you can see in the color, are located up here. And I understand they're both rental houses. With respect to the drainage issue, Brian Hertz from MG328 Engineering is here. In the event there's a concern by berming, if there were to berm along here, it may cause the water to back up onto the residential issues. And if there's a fence or berming, but it can be designed to, we will, and we have concern, as the engineer, Mr. Brian Hertz, can tell you, about backing up water onto the residence. If you put a berm up, it'll do it. You don't want to berm it up, otherwise, because it'll create the water to back up towards the residences instead of allowing it to take its natural course and flow down. The existing, there's a ditch all the way along here between these two properties. And the water drains over here underneath Cherry Hill Road and then eventually out.
Does the water in that area run north and south?
Excuse me, Brian Hertz?
Yeah, I'm Brian Hertz from MG2A. Basically, the water, there's a floodplain area that comes through here kind of west or east to west. And these areas are flowing from north down to that floodplain area, and then there's some area down south of the floodplain that's flowing north. So you got drainage flowing south from the north, you got drainage coming from the east, flowing west. You know, it's kind of all contributing from these directions and going west.
Well, I believe that's something that, once we get to that point, I guess the engineering staff in the county can work with the applicant. Am I correct, Kurt?
Right.
We're working simultaneously.
So,
Yeah,
as far as that issue,
correct.
I understand your concern bringing it up, but we don't really, that'll be something that we work out with staff,
Correct, right.
so,
But, Mr. Chairman,
yes.
perhaps I misunderstood, Ms. Wayne. As you'll note, the proposed condition, number 4, does speak to the notion of a berm. Are you expressing some concerns or reservations about that condition language?
But that will be, again, as the chairman said, that will be up to staff at the time they go in for their permit to do the construction work. to prepare the area. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So what you're saying is, Kim?
That's a condition of what you did.
From my view, I believe
They
that
don't have
there
choice,
is
they gotta
a
get building
shift in the GIS, and the actual area that they're identifying, it's actually shifted further north. I'm not sure if that would change the projection of the water flow, but if we were to alter a condition, that would be the appropriate condition for the applicant and for staff. I would recommend that for number 4, we include a 20-foot landscape strip without the specification of the actual berm. So we could still have a buffer and change that language of the condition to allow for the landscape strip without having the buffer to eliminate any future water concerns, because I do understand that there are some flood.
Yeah, we agree with that. We don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay, so what we're saying is we may want to alter the 4th,
I would recommend the condition, the 4th condition, to eliminate the word berm.
To include a berm, just cross it out.
And fence, because you don't want a solid fence there either. That would cause the backup also.
Well, the fence can be accommodated because we do need to have screening between, you know, they're two conflicting uses, I-2, and then you have residential properties. They're in use, residential use. So the fence is, if done correctly, it's not going to back up that water on that part of the property.
okay, are we saying we're going to remove the word berm and
Just-
then hope?
To include a berm.
Just the berm is my recommendation.
Your recommendation is to,
To eliminate the word, to include a berm in number 4. Just all the languages the same, to
okay,
include a
well,
20-foot
a little bit
land.
further down, it says the landscape berm, so we should eliminate that too then.
Yes.
The landscaping and plantings, about the 5th line down.
The landscape berm.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, with respect to number 6, that it says that heavy equipment should not be operated in any capacity between 6:30 and 6:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Well, you can't load a machine on top of a lowboy to take it away from storage or bring it back in and unload it without starting up the machine to load and unload or to build
Are you,
structure.
should that be, say, from 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m.?
From 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
And that's what it says
Probably
now,
should
but I
have
think
been the
it
other
should
way
be the
around.
other way around, shouldn't it?
Correct. It should be the other way around. Thank you, Chairman. That's exactly right.
6:30, okay.
Can't
number
operate a
6.
business without being able to do anything during the day.
Yeah.
I'm sure that
Okay.
was what was meant.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any other,
I apologize for the voice. It's
that's okay, she has some water for you.
it's
Okay, let's get this
older
clear on
cancer
number
is
4.
what it is.
Would you like me to read number 4?
Yes,
Go ahead.
Okay. A buffer is required along properties that are used for residential purposes. A 20-foot wide landscape strip, a continuous row of approved shrubs, 2 approved evergreens per 40 linear feet, and a solid fence is required along the north and western property boundaries that abut the A1 residential property at 2852 Cherry Hill Road. The landscape plantings must run from the points of vision clearance east along the gravel driveway, then north along the west property boundary, east of the gravel parking yard. The strip shall be maintained regularly and shall be located outside of a solid fence. A landscape plan is required prior to issuance of the site development permit SD-16-CI-012.
Again, that's a matter for approval by the land use department at the time of the site development permits granted and they applied for like a building permit.
sure. And did you hear about number 6, what we were talking about? It says 6:30 a.m. to 6:30
Yes.
p.m. We want to change it to 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m.
Yes.
Okay, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Any
Are
questions?
there any questions of the applicant? Are there any objectors to this case? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Thank you.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to entertain a motion on case ZC-16-012 to amend the condition number 4 as read and number 6 to 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have I'd like to entertain a motion on case ZC-16012, the amended special use permit for outdoor storage yard with the, is there 7? 7 amended conditions.
Mr. Chairman, on case ZC-16-012, I make a motion for approval of a special use permit for the outdoor storage yard with the following 7 conditions.
Second.
Written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got your maps back there?
No, you put those in the garbage. Sorry for that.
No, don't worry. Oh, don't.
You want me to copy that map?
Yes. I know that. That was good. So,
Thank you.
you did very well.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, here. I just put it on.
Okay. Next case on the agenda, zoning case ZC-16-014. We have owner of record, Braidwood Recreation Club, President Michael Folletti. We have a request for a special use permit. Kimberly Phillips from our staff will open up the case.
Zoning case ZC-16-014 takes place in Custer Township. The applicant requests a special use permit for a recreational club with a campground for the purpose of allowing 14 additional campsites. The general location of the subject property is south of Wilmington along Route 53 in the Braidwood Recreation Club. The area displayed in red is the parcel area, and the area displayed in yellow is the special use area. Can you see that? Okay. So the special use area is not the full perimeter of the subject parcel. The Braidwood Recreation Club is a not-for-profit private outdoor recreation club with more than 1,200 acres of recreation and open space areas. The majority of the club is Zone C6, commercial recreation. The PIN ending in 002 was acquired by the club with A1 zoning from the Forest Preserve. The zoning for the parcel, zoned A1, is not consistent with the remaining C6. The subject parcel is non-conforming as was created without lot frontage in 1977. The club had 2 options to allow camping. One was to amend the entire parcel, 107 acres from A1 to C6, to match the existing parcels, or 2, request a special use permit for all or a portion of the parcel and remain A1. Typically, the land use department encourages consolidation of lots when multiple lots are owned by the same owner and utilized for a single use. It is encouraged to amend the zoning district to C6 to have cohesive zoning. This promotes a holistic approach and eliminates confusion with multiple lots and multiple zoning districts. In this instance, the zoning administrator allowed the Braidwood Recreation Club to opt for the second option to allow the flexibility to zone only a portion of the property as fees are based on acreage and the parcel will remain A1. There are 14 campsites that are proposed in the area that is displayed before you in yellow. And there are 3 photos displayed before you of the area. The newly created road will require an after-the-fact site development permit, as it was created without obtaining a permit. Staff recommends approval of a special use permit for a recreational club with a campground with 4 conditions. This concludes staff analysis.
Any questions of staff? Okay, thank you. The applicant's here tonight. Okay, are there any objectors to this case before I call the applicant? Or concerned citizens? The applicant, if you'd like to come down and speak, you can, but the staff is recommending approval. If you don't want to come down, you don't have to. Thank you. Unless any of the commissioners have any questions. Case ZC-16-014, I'd like to entertain a motion for the special use permit with the 4 conditions.
Mr. Chairman, on case number ZC-16-014, make a recommendation for approval of a special use permit for the outdoor recreational club with campsites and under the 4 conditions listed by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next case on the agenda. Zoning case ZC-16-020. Owner of record, Lynn Hankins. We have a request for a variance. Kimberly from our staff will open up the case.
Thank you, Chairman. Zoning case ZC-16-020 takes place in Plainfield Township. The applicant requests a variance for front yard setback from 30 feet to 22 feet for the purpose of allowing the construction of an addition to the home, in addition to an existing 2-car detached garage to a conversion into a 4-car attached garage, and proposes a 3-car detached garage. Displayed before you is an aerial map. The general location of the subject property is east of South Penny Lane in unincorporated Plainfield. This is north of Main Street, which is Route 126. The subject property is zoned R3. Municipal Plainfield is within very close proximity to the west. Displayed before you is a platted survey of the subject property. The property is improved with a residence, a detached garage, a shed, and 2 gravel driveways. The applicant proposes to increase the area of the existing home with this addition area here, and increase the existing 2-car detached garage to an attached 4-car garage, and construct a new 3-car detached garage up here on the property, and proposes a new gravel drive here. Photos of the subject property are displayed. The subdivision does not have a clear, it does not have an established front yard setback. The properties in this neighborhood are non-conformings. They were created prior to 1978. The current front yard setback of the existing home is 28 feet from right-of-way. The proposed construction will encroach further into the front yard setback to 22 feet from right-of-way. A unique circumstance was not found. There's ample area on the property to build without requiring a variance. It is staff's opinion that the variance is a matter of convenience. Staff recommends denial of a variance for a front yard setback from 30 feet to 22 feet. This concludes staff analysis.
Kim, on the site plan, behind where the four-car garage is gonna be, it says existing tree, approximate location and size only. Now, do we have a picture of that tree, or do you know, can you describe it? Is it an older tree? Is it a tall tree?
So if you look very carefully, where that tree is located, looks to me that this is that tree you are referring to.
So it's probably, looks like 50, 60 feet tall, huh?
It's located behind.
Behind where the four-car garage would be?
Yes.
Okay. You know. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, at this time, the applicant would like to come down. The
Yeah.
staff's recommended denial. As the applicant comes down, are there, go ahead, come on down.
Okay.
Are there any objectors or concerned citizens in regards to this case? Okay, thank you. Please state your name for the records.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Lynn Angus, the owner of 14425 Penny Lane. There's a couple of things I want to mention about the property and then give you a handout to give a better illustration, because the 30 to 22 setback is a little bit misleading because the property is at 26, but a couple of things I'm requesting. I'm only requesting to pull the house forward 36 inches, 3 feet at this point. Not only, but I'm requesting to pull it forward 3 feet. And it's not, as we mentioned earlier, it's not established as what the frontal encroachment setback is. And I did provide some documentation that kind of showed that, I hate to use this word, it's not a word, but there is some spottings with some neighbors who also did similar and as well. But it's a 3 feet pull forward to the existing property to avoid disturbing. And you nailed it, it's actually 55-year-old tree. It's about 60 feet tall, and it's directly in back of the expansion. And the drip line is already over the house, and it's a beautiful tree. It's the only tree that's on the body of the property, and as well as the septic field is also have restraints and moving back. So the house can either only go south towards Main Street or west towards the front street. There's, if you go north, you're in septic field. If you come back east, you have a tree, and it's, I call it tree engineered, and we can't go back without disturbing the tree at all. And that's a beautiful tree. So I want to avoid the restraints of disturbing a tree, as well as the septic field, and really the only option is to go south or forward. The tree is, as I mentioned, is the only one there. I think, and I'm confident with what the development and the construction will improve the community and give curb appeal to it, and it will avoid a continuous run-on of a house that just looks like it's just ran on to the south, compared to giving it some relief from that run-on by staggering it 3 feet. I want to provide
sort of like an L shape.
Yeah, well, just, so this is the existing property. I want to be clear, it's at 26, so I'm asking to go 3 feet forward with the garage.
Sure.
So you don't just have this straight line of a house that just looks, it will look aesthetically not good. Here is.
You only have at least 3/4 of an acre there.
Yeah, so I got plenty of room, but it's the restraints that
Yes.
I have struggled with. So what I'm giving you is the site plan as well as the platted survey. There's plenty of room, but it's just the current restraint. And if you look at the illustration there, and I'll pass these out. Hi, how are you? Okay, okay. If you look, I guess the plat survey kind of shows that it's, when you mention 30 to 22, it's misleading. It's currently at 26, so that's the 3 feet. That's the purpose of the survey. As you can see, the concrete interest is still going to, it's a foundation of structure. It's going to be farther forward and already in the same encroachment. The proposed architectural site plan, if you look at the current existing home, which is a smaller rectangle box to your left, that's at 25 1/8, not 30 feet. My proposal is to attach what you see here and bring the house together and create the stagger by bringing a garage 3 feet forward.
And you're still a little bit away from the road anyway, so your driveway goes to the road here?
I am 66 feet away from the road.
Okay.
I went and measured, and the 22 feet.
Just your right away?
Yeah, I'm going to be another 25 feet away from the actual pavement. So 22 feet is really just half of my yard. And then you got another 42 feet before you get to the road. And that's, obviously, I highlighted some of the proposed, and as you can see, the tree, I had to have trim, just because, one, it's an older tree, it's already over, the drip line is already over the garage. I trimmed as much as possible. The other option was remove it. It's a gorgeous tree.
Sure.
So I want to just go avoid the tree and avoid the septic field, as you can see there, and pull it forward 3 feet, not 8 feet.
Sure. Well, I'm a big fan of saving the trees. You know, especially when you only have one.
Yeah,
And the other thing, as I read this report, the only thing that really threw me off was, I see you have 3 GMs and 2 Fords. Now something's not right there.
Well,
It's just either they're all GM or they're all Ford.
let me say this. I'm also a Sox and Cup fan.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm helping my case at all, but
Quick while you're ahead.
I will.
I am too.
Okay, do you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions to the applicant? Okay, thank you. Thank you. On case ZC-16-020, I'd like to entertain a motion for the requested variance.
Mr. Chairman, regarding case number ZC-16-020, I'll make a motion for approval of variance for front yard setback from 30 feet to 22 feet.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? You. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I have paperwork for you.
Oh. Okay. Next case on the agenda, temporary use permit TUP-16-005. We have a request for a temporary use permit for a fall festival. Kimberly Phillips from our staff will open this case. Or is it Steve?
Yes.
It says Kimberly.
Yeah, she had a heavier load tonight, so I volunteered to do this one, and I did a little bit of the case management.
Steve Lazara
Yes,
will
sir.
open this case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of our planning commission. I chose not to do a PowerPoint with this one because it's a temporary use permit, and because really what we're going to talk about today is a little bit more of the issues of the dynamics of what's going on the property. So I want to begin by saying Mr. and Mrs. Janata are requesting a temporary use permit to allow for a fall festival. The property is located at 1301 East Hoffner Road and is just outside of Beecher corporate limits. The Fall Festival is under the name of the Settlers Pond Pumpkin Patch, and it will include the following activities: a petting zoo, interactive displays of early farm life, including butter churning and soap making, seed tables, barn tours, refreshments, a train ride that circumvents the farm and showcases the animals, a hayfield, pumpkin patch, and a supervised pinball gallery. Proposed operation dates are from October 4th through October 31st, or we could even say their insurance goes till November 1st, but it's October 31st. Proposed hours of operation are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I want to make it abundantly clear, in the future, you're probably going to see a special use permit case for this property, but this is specifically for the temporary use permit to run through the course of the month of October. The Fall Festival has been authorized to occur on the property previously as a temporary use. However, gaps occurred and the temporary use permits were not applied for consistently on a regular basis. The last temporary use permit was filed in 2012. The applicant has been cited in 2015 for a fall festival that took place on the subject property without the temporary use. And again, that's what we're discussing tonight. The keeping of exotic and the keeping of exotic animals. The applicant is currently working with the land use department for the appropriate zoning as ordered by the court. The zoning will be a permanent solution that includes such events as fall festival and similar events that kind of cater to animals, petting zoos, that type of thing. That's what the issue is really permanently, and it's also animal rescue. And again, I want to remind everyone that this is a temporary use. Before you see 8 conditions that the staff is requesting. We have actually, in the course of the day today, have actually added 2 more. So we have a total of 10 conditions, and I'm going to read the last 2. The first one is subject to our building inspector being able to access the site and coming back and saying that the majority of the building issues are in compliance. However, the only structure that can be used in conjunction with the temporary use permit is the big barn, and it is referenced as the big barn, which is a structure roughly 152 feet by 84 feet. That is the only structure that the activities can take place, sessions, any of that. The second condition involves the applicant's insurance. At this time, the applicant's insurance policy does not cover animal activities on the property. So, the applicant's insurance policy will be required to take in that issue. They are going to provide insurance paper for us. So the condition actually reads, the applicant's current insurance policy does not cover any animal activities on the property. Therefore, the applicant is required to provide proof of insurance to cover oops. She didn't Xerox on my side. Thank you. All animal activities, including the petting zoo. And again, I want to be very specific. Without insurance covering the petting zoo, that portion of this entertainment venue cannot happen. Staff's recommendation is for approval of the temporary use. However, we do have those 10 constraint conditions, 8 that you have before you, and 2 that I've referenced would be included in the minutes.
Oh, go ahead.
That's the question. If you're having animals and you're only using the one building, can you still serve food in that building?
That's a health department issue. I don't know. But one of the requirements is that they meet all of the health department concerns. So that is the second condition that is there. They will have to meet that.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I'm a little more confused.
Okay.
On number 9, if you get it.
Okay.
There are series of... Number 9, it says, the only building that you said was the only building that can be used is the big barn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on a festival, okay, and I've been to a few, just like the one on Route 45, they have events outside the buildings. Now, are any events allowed outside the buildings?
Yes, let me clarify that. The only structure that can be used for indoor activities is the big barn.
Okay, so all right, that confused, I'm not confused again.
I apologize.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Applicant, would you like to come down? He's added 2 conditions. You understand those 2 conditions?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, are there any objectors?
I would like to make a statement regarding this facility. It is well attended by a lot of the children in our area. These people are wonderful in taking in a lot of animals all the time, and they are appreciated in the eastern part of the county with what they do and how hard they work. And for them to, this is a lot of work. I've been to a number of these festivals within our area. They're well put together. They work constantly for 30 days. They work, I wouldn't do it. I look at all that work, but they've got a lot of schools, children, families that come, because we are being inundated in our small village, the past couple of years, not now, with a lot of people who are from the city, from up north, and they've never seen anything, any animals like this anywhere. So this is in support of the applicants that are putting this on. I just want to make it very clear that it is appreciated in the area, that's all.
Thank you. On K, temporary use permit, request TUP-16-005, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve temporary use permit TUP-16-005 to allow for a fall festival on the property common.
You know what, hold on a second, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'd like to amend the requested temporary use permit first. I'd like to amend it, make an amendment to the temporary use permit, which includes the condition 9 and condition 10. I'd like to amend it first.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
To amend the conditions to 10 conditions.
Make a motion to amend the conditions to 10 conditions.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for the requested amended temporary use permit TUP-16-005.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve temporary use permit TUP-16-005 to allow for a fall festival on the property commonly known as 1301 East Offner Road, Beach, Illinois, identified by permit index number 22-22-02-200-005-000.
And the 10
With the
conditions?
10 conditions.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Does the staff, do we have any announcements? Okay, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Meeting